talk a little bit about innovation and the religion of Islam. Innovation, because I feel like when you live in California, innovation is a good word. But when you're Muslim, you've been getting policed. You've been getting policed your whole life. You be like, wait a minute, man, don't even mention innovation. We get nervous around here. It's talking about innovating stuff for. Come on, man. You don't need to change nothing, right? And so it is true that innovation has things in it that are unlawful. There's certain categories that bid'ah falls under. And this is the classical understanding as laid out by Imam Shafi'i. So I get this khutbah. I don't want no police to come. You got a problem with the khutbah? You got to talk to Imam Shafi'i, and he died a long time ago. So you ain't even got no get back. And I'm like, I had to listen to what you said since I was in like junior high. They were like, bid'ah, whoosh. It was like a gun. Bid'ah, pow. I got shot with the bid'ah pistol. But then, as time goes on, more information becomes available. So I said, wait a minute, it's categories of innovation? Yes. And so the category that we hear about is not all innovation. And I'll prove it by the end of the khutbah. But just take my word, it's like a journey, 30-minute journey. So the first category of innovation that we'll talk about is the one we're familiar with. Unlawful innovations in the religion of Islam. Now, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Kulu mudathatin bid'ah. Every newly innovated thing is an innovation. Wa kula bid'atin dalalah. And every innovation is a stray. Wa kula dalalatin finnar. And everything that's a stray goes to the fire. So you hear that? You're like, this is going to keep us on the straight and narrow, which it should. We don't want to be lackadaisical about innovation. But this innovation, this hadith is qualified by other hadiths of the Prophet. So the Prophet said, anybody who innovates something good into this religion, he'll get the reward of everybody who practices it after him. So obviously, all innovation is it going to the fire. You bring something good into the religion. And this is outside of beliefs. So the bid'ah, the mudaththas in bid'ah, this is talking about religious beliefs. Our religious beliefs are set by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what he taught. Nobody can come after him and tell us any belief about God, any belief about the hereafter, any belief about angels, any belief about his companions. If we accept those things, this is an innovation. But other things that don't have anything to do with our beliefs, but because so the very narrow view of innovation is anything that you bring into religion is haram and everything else is lawful. And this is what we all hear all the time. The problem with that is we Muslims, we're not Christians. Our whole life is religion. There's nothing I'm going to do that I'm not going to try to make religious if I'm a good Muslim. When I go to work, I'm working to earn money and use that money to please God. So whenever I go to work with that intention, it's a reward. There's nothing that we're going to say that we do that we're going to put outside of a religious parameter. We're not going to say, well, this is like a secular understanding of religion. But this is not a classical. Classically, people didn't say, well, this is religion and this is civil. This is religion and this is legal. It was all, right, even for the Christians and the Jews and everybody. Their life was revolved around religion. So there was no, well, I could do an innovation in this, but not in that. That can't be the understanding, the classical understanding. The classical understanding is there are innovations that lead to the hellfire, and they are haram. There are innovations that are makruh. They are dislikes, but they're not haram. So if you decorate the masjid, this isn't haram, but it's makruh. Meaning if you said, I'm not going to decorate the masjid, I'm going to be rewarded. But if I do decorate the masjid, it's not a sin. This is the meaning of makruh. There are innovations that are makruh. There are innovations mubah. Meaning, if I do this thing, I'm not going to get rewarded or punished. And if I don't do this thing, I'm not going to get rewarded or punished. Meaning, if I decide to wear a white thobe, well, that might actually be recommended on Jummah. If I decide to eat biryani, the brother's going to be like, why you never eat jollof? About the jollof rice, man. Tired of all this biryani. Right? If you eat jollof on Friday morning, or if you eat biryani, it don't make a difference. Religiously speaking, is mundane. You're not going to be rewarded or punished. So it's things that we innovate in our lives. I'm about to drive to Jummah. Somebody was like, stop for a lot of people say something never drove. You see where this rabbit hole goes? You're like, man, I'm about to buy my E-Fit at the supermarket or at the mall. Probably never went to the mall. He didn't go to the mall. He never went to a bookstore. Let's not grow up. So if you go by a bookstore in a bazaar, like an outside bazaar like they had in Medina, or if you buy it from Sultana or Rumi Books, you buy a Holy Quran. Buying the Holy Quran, you gonna say that's not religious? Of course that's religious. Where you buy it though, doesn't make a difference religiously. If you overspend money on it, you're gonna be like, I should have got this at Amazon. So if you be like, I'm gonna go, well, I don't want to say that because I don't want to make it seem like I'm telling us not to go to the Muslim bookstores. But however you want to buy your Muslim books is fine. This is an innovation that is mubah. And then we have recommended innovations. Meaning if you do these innovations, you will be rewarded. People are like, I ain't never heard of this. This is sacrilegious what you telling me. You telling me I can get rewarded for doing bid'ah? Yes. If you send your kids to Quran school, there was no kid Quran school in the time of the Prophet. I'm sorry to tell you. They all sent to Quran school because they've been doing since the time of Umar till now. You don't think you're going to be rewarded for that as a parent? This is an innovation. But it is recommended that you do it. Because if you don't do it, your kids ain't going to know no Quran. I never learned Quran because my dad said it was an innovation. Your kids ain't going to learn Hadith. If you don't send them to a religious school, there was no religious school in the time of the Prophet. The people just went to the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they asked them questions. There wasn't no blackboards. There wasn't no desks. There wasn't none of that stuff that we have today. So when people say every innovation is in the fire, I just named 3 out of 4 innovations that's not in the fire. And finally, there are innovations that are obligatory in this religion. Meaning if nobody does these innovations, it is a sin. And you see the problem when people come and tell us every innovation is going to the fire. And I can tell you innovations that if you don't do it as a community, you are sinful as a community. What does that mean? It means people are giving you such a narrow view of religion that you are actually about to be sinful. So in the time of the Prophet, there was no such thing as nahu. There was no such thing as sarf. There was no such thing as diacritical marks. And if you take those things out of the Islam today, then nobody teaches Arabic grammar. Nobody teaches conjugation. Nobody. It's bid'ah. Nobody going to teach the Arabic language. In the time of the Prophet, did somebody sit down and I'm going to teach y'all how to speak Arabic properly? Everybody spoke Arabic. And the people who couldn't speak Arabic, some of the best Muslims, Arabic was horrible in the time of the Prophet. The Prophet never said, okay, you sit down and teach that person Nahu so that they know I'rab. All of that is innovation. And all of that is obligatory. Meaning, if nobody does it, the whole community incurs sin. And this is very important going forward as Muslims, as a community. We got to take off the shackles to try to paralyze us and hold us back. We be like, I can't do nothing. I've been giving good for so long. You know how froze I used to be? I mean, y'all probably can't tell now. I used to be froze up in the cook box. Somebody gonna come up and tell me what I did wrong right after I'm done. I would make a mistake. I would put a factor on the dumbbell in the first half. And then remember when I'm sitting down and then before the end of the cook, I'll be like, I know I made a mistake. Don't come up and blast me. Because everybody was singing, all of these people are doing, this is what they tell us. The problem with innovation is that you think you're doing a good deed, but you're really doing a bad deed. So you never make Toba, and then you go to hell. Get out of my face, man. How you know we're going to hell? How you know you ain't going to hell? You're telling me I'm going to go to hell because I thought saying 500 subhanallah was a good deed. And you're like, well, the prophet didn't do it. So you think you did a good deed by adding to a number. But it's really a bad deed. Anytime you do a number, get out of my face, man. If that's the case, when you go to, at the end of the week, when they're supposed to give you $5,000, tell them, no, just give me 500. 500 is better than 5,000, right? Is anybody going to take that deal? Nobody would take that deal in the dunya. That we do less and then we get more. But then you see somebody who religiously does more, and you say, he's sinful because he prayed too much. He's sinful because he fasts too much. He said that's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous assumption that God is going to be like, you was praying too much. You about to burn in hell. And the guys that ain't praying at all, and oh, by the way, they support the Zionist state. They all going to heaven? Get out of my face, bro. Like, that makes no sense. Did the same people that helped invent Zionism, they going to heaven because they pray less. Let's start for a lot. And so, I promise you, it's a 30-minute journey. So in the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Allah, he revealed in the Holy Quran, he said, verily, we have revealed this reminder, and verily it is upon us to preserve it. How did he preserve it, though? Did he send angels down, or did he send a book down in the form of a book? We got it on ourselves. Some golden tablets to send it? No. He preserved it through the Prophet ﷺ teaching his Sahaba. Prophet ﷺ, he had 68 different scribes to write down the Holy Quran. And at the end of the Prophet's life, all of those parchments were scattered throughout Medina. The Prophet ﷺ never said, okay, everybody who has anything written down, bring it here, we're going to make a book. He never did that. He passed away. And then in the time of Abu Bakr, they had a battle called the Battle of Yamama, in which 70 of the reciters of the Quran and many other people were killed. So Umar ibn al-Khattab, he went to Abu Bakr, he said, man, we got to collect the Holy Quran in one book. Can't just be scattered parchments, because the people who memorize it, they're dying. And if we don't want it to be lost, then Abu Bakr said, wait a minute though. This is what Abu Bakr said. He said, the Prophet never did that. That's an innovative. Come on. Collecting the Quran. Can we imagine a world where Quran's never collected? Can you imagine as a Muslim? I'm talking about as a Muslim right now. Can you imagine a world existing where the Quran was not compiled in one book? And Abu Bakr was worried, as we all should be worried. We should never say, well, the Prophet didn't do something, y'all, I'm dancing into it. However, Umar said, collecting the Quran is a good deed, which goes against what your imam taught you. You think it's a good deed, but it's really not. We have one book, it's the Holy Quran. And so Abu Bakr said, okay, let's collect it. So he put Zayd bin Thabit, who was the Prophet's chief scribe, in charge of collecting the Quran. Bilal ibn Rabah, he went through the neighborhood. He said, anybody, every street in Medina, who has any written parchment of the Quran, bring it to the masjid. Did the prophet ever do that in his life? No, the prophet never did it. Bilal did it. And when they got to the masjid, they only accepted the written parchment if the person who brought it had two witnesses. They said, I was there when the prophet ordered this to be written down. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't do any of that. And at the end of that process, they had something called suhuf, which means pages. It was like 6 feet tall. All the pages was different lengths. But it was ordered the way that the Quran is ordered from Fatiha to Nas. But it was like one page to be super long, one page to be super short. It was just pages. That's why they didn't call it mushaf. They called it suhuf, which means pages. And they kept that with Abu Bakr. And when he died, it was given to Hafsa, who was one of the Prophet's wives. Why is this important? Because in the Holy Quran, Allah says, we have revealed this Quran, and it's upon us to preserve this Quran. How did Allah have it preserved? Through the believers. Which means if you want to do anything in life, you cannot wait for God to come down and do it for you. If you want to stop the war in Gaza, get off your butt and get out there and do something about it. Because when Allah preserved the Holy Quran, He did it with the believers. There is not going to be an earthquake that's going to kill all the Zionists. There is not going to be a flood that's going to wash away the Democrats and the Republicans. You as a human being got to get off your butt and stop waiting on a miracle and make a miracle. And this is what we learned from the life of Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu anhu. He didn't say, the prophet never did it, I can't do it. He said the prophet didn't do it, but it needs to be done. So when somebody tells you, the prophet never went to a protest. What are you doing a protest for? You just need to make salat. Go ahead and make salat. Dude, salat is for the next world, brothers and sisters. Do anyone say, I ain't about to go hustle and make no money, I'm just going to make salat. And the refrigerator is going to be filled with food, and my rent going to get paid. We don't do that. But when we got Zionists murdering people in the streets, some dude with a whack, crazy beard going to tell us it's innovation. This is something that the Messenger of Allah didn't do. If you do it, you think you're doing good, and you're going to go to hell. Y'all falling for that junk? Because the people who pay the people to say that is the same people that paid Kamala Harris. Same people that paid Donald Trump. They Zionists. They don't want you to get out and do nothing. So if you don't go to a doctor when you're sick, the prophet never did that. If you're going to go to the grocery store and buy food, the prophet never did that. If you're going to jump in a car to drive anywhere, the prophet never did that. It's funny how we pick and choose to say, well, the prophet didn't really do this. I don't want to do it anyway. Why am I waiting? I don't want to do that. I'm just waiting on God to take. God ain't coming to take care of white supremacy. That's the Muslim's job. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم.